Hey, Nightmare Daddy Davis here, listening to Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
Hey, this is Jimmy Street, host of the Live and in Color with Wolfie D podcast. Hear the life and times of professional wrestler Wolfie D, from his time in the territories with PG-13 to his time in WWE, ECW, WCW, TNA, and more. Nothing is off limits and nothing will be held back. Thanks again for tuning in. Here he is, Wolfie D.
Welcome once again to Live and in Color with Wolfie D and my man Jimmy across the street. And we have got our Nightmare edition, Halloween edition of the show coming on today. I'm pumped about this one, Holmes.
Oh, dude, Nightmare Danny Davis. Holy crap.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
This means a lot to me. Absolutely means a lot to me. Seeing him at the Hall of Fame, just very great to see him. And like I said to you, and you were there, but I told you, I said, hey, just talk to Danny, and I didn't even have to ask him. He said, hey, I'm going to do your show.
Oh man,
give me about a month, and and then he had some, the storms come through and all that. So it's actually 2 days over a month.
Right.
So we nailed it, man. We nailed it.
Yeah.
Danny nailed it for us. And we appreciate it.
Jeez, man. I mean, seriously, this is one of those guests that we had nailed. Like, let's just pretend we had this fictional. It was a real list, actually. We had at the very start, and Danny was like right at the top, man. Because when we're talking about your story, that's what I told Danny at the show. I was like, I said this show would essentially be incomplete without you being on it. If we were to shut it down tomorrow, and Danny had never been on here, it would have been incomplete. Let's just be honest, and man.
So what you're saying is this is the last show?
No, I'm not saying that. I mean, are the listeners saying that?
But man, yeah, super awesome. And it just fell perfectly too. And I, neither one of us, obviously when Danny said, hey, when you want to do this, when he hit me up, and I'm like, hey, you tell me. I said, these are my preferred days. And he said, I'll do it on that day. And then I got to look and I was like, this would be the Halloween show.
I know.
Holy shit. It just all worked out perfect, man.
I know. And it really, sometimes you have to work to make it work like this. But this one,
exactly.
It was like, is this getting easier? Hold on a second.
It's like talking, I think, me and you just privately about, man, sometimes things just happen. When you try so hard, you can't get what you're trying to get. But then when you hang on a second, and just relax, shit happens,
Right. Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah. It's just like, Pat Rose told me, consistency. You got to keep consistent. And I'm like, well, we're doing that. I hope so. But yeah, man, dude, I mean, seriously, the path that this man blazed, the trail he blazed, just so much with his career.
I'm just a lot of people, man.
Man, seriously. Yeah.
Big time too.
Yeah. And if you think about the people, the whole business would be different if Danny, obviously these guys may have gotten a trainer other places or whatever, but it would be totally different, man. It would be a different ballgame because of Danny's leadership in this business, honestly. Like you take him out or like a Tom Pritchard out or somebody like that. Yeah. Wrestling looks different, man. So
it does, man. And
yeah.
Let's just get to it, man. Let's do this.
Yeah, screw it. Let's get to it. I'm with you, man. I'm excited too. We'll be right back with Nightmare Danny Davis on a very special Halloween episode of Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
When you reach that age where everyone and their mother won't shut up about their credit scores, yet it seems like no one really understands what's so special about those 3 random numbers? That's because credit scores are meaningless, unless you have Credit Karma to show you how to use them. We use those 3 random numbers, plus your financial profile, to help you find your next opportunity. Like a more rewarding credit card, a game plan that helps you pay down debt faster, or a personal loan to help you save more on interest payments each month. Cha-ching! Download Intuit Credit Karma today to get started.
The #1 selling product of its kind with over 20 years of research and innovation. Botox Cosmetic, onabotulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
Hey folks, to get your official Live It in Color with Wolfie D merchandise, go to ProWrestlingTees.com/Live Wolfie D. Check it out.
If you're listening to Live and in Color with Wolfie D on Apple Podcast and like what you're hearing, go ahead and leave a 5-star rating. And while you're at it, write a review. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you'd like to hear in the future. It's very important to us and always appreciated. Thanks again.
All right, we are back. And folks, like I said earlier, this episode means a lot to me. A guy that I consider, one of my mentors in the business and a friend, if nothing else, man. I've been wanting to get him on here since we started this show, but yeah. He's been in hiding or captivity. I'm not sure which one, but he got out, and I saw him at the Hall of Fame. And one of the first things he said to me was, "Hey, man, I'll do your podcast." I didn't even ask him. I guess he had known I've been searching for him. Had a bolo out on him. But everybody, please welcome the Nightmare, Danny Davis.
Thank you there, Wolfie D. I appreciate the introduction. I think you went a little too far, but hey, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Danny, man, it's been so long other than the Hall of Fame, and we didn't really get to talk a lot there because it was such a busy day. But I know, I heard that you went down to Florida and, you were just kind of, done with it. Not necessarily in a negative way done with it, but some guys are like that. They just want to get away from it. Yeah, well, I sold, OVW in 2018. And once I did that, I kind of got away from the business altogether because I spent 42 years in it, and frankly, I had my fill, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I just means I felt like I had accomplished everything I need to accomplish or wanted to accomplish, and everything from being in Jerry Lawler's corner the night he sent Andy Kaufman to the hospital, to training some of WWE's finest superstars. So I kind of managed to, like I said, do what I wanted to do. And I didn't see anything else that I could top that with. So I just sold the business. My wife and I relocated to Florida. That was always her dream. And, it's been good, except for the recent 2 hurricanes in 2 weeks. yeah. That's take the good with the bad down there, I guess. Yes, and so all those accomplishments, man, I understand why some guys want to hang on forever. It kind of ends up being a negative thing for them, where people are feeling sorry for them and stuff, But with you, It's a bow out gracefully type of deal, and I can totally appreciate that. I'm going to rewind here, and this is some of the stuff that I don't know about you that I know so much about you in the ring and when I met you, but I want to go back to before you were the Nightmare, when you were just a little bitty bad dream. What were your early athletic skills? What did you play? What influenced you to get into pro wrestling? Very simple. I grew up in a little town called Bemis, Tennessee, which is now is a suburb of Jackson, Tennessee, basically. And my mom and I used to watch the local wrestling show, and was on WBBJ TV in Jackson, and also the Channel 13 wrestling out of Memphis aired also. So one day my mom, she said,
I bet you could do that. And I said, yeah, I believe I could. At the time, I was in the retail industry. I managed a store like Walmart. Uh-huh. And so had a wife, wonderful wife at the time, and had 3 kids, and walked away from that job to get in the pro wrestling world. And that's I really didn't have. Well, I had I was a baseball player. I had an opportunity to play pro baseball a couple of times when I was like 16 and 17 years old. Had a little talent there. I was scouted, and it just I didn't do it for whatever reason, Yeah. And I ended up getting married at a young age and got in the retail business, and that's what I did. And then one day, like I said, I got a call from my mom who lived in Bemis, and said, "Hey, they're having a wrestling event over at the Jackson Coliseum. I believe it was called the Omen Arena there. I think. Yeah. And it said, she said, hey, there's an ad in it that says, if you want to learn to wrestle, be out back at like 6 o'clock or something, out the rear entrance of the Coliseum. So I lived in Collierville, Tennessee at the time, which is right outside of Memphis. And so I drove up and pulled up to the back of the Coliseum. Man, there was probably 100 to 200 guys and gals out back. Wow. And we were standing around out there, and all of a sudden somebody comes out. I didn't know who it was, but they picked a half a dozen guys out of the crowd, and for whatever reason, I was one of them. I wasn't anything special or anything like that, and they pulled us in and took us into the dressing room. Not where the pros were, but they took us in a separate dressing room, sat there, paired us off with. We had 3 they called amateur matches. Uh-huh. The referee was a guy named Terry Sawyer. Okay. Not Buzz Sawyer, but Terry Sawyer. He was an Olympic wrestler who later was my one of my trainers. Anyway, so they had us. They paired us off and had us wrestle, or basically fight each other, in the ring that night. And I was paired off with a guy who was about 6'5". Now look, I'm 5'7". I'm 5'7". So this guy was 6'5", and his name was Leon White. Oh. Now it's not who you think. Okay. Okay. It's not. It wasn't that Leon White, but how fitting. Anyhow, so walked into the arena there and got in the ring for the first time ever in my life, and struggled and fought, and ended up blowing up, laying down, and the guy covered me, and referee Terry Sawyer counted 1. You lose. That was it. It wasn't a 3 count. It was a 1. Well, they didn't tell us that beforehand, but no matter what. So my first match I lost, and after I got into business, and I don't know how much you want me to tell you about that, because this could go on forever. But
you talk how you want to talk. I'll cut you off if I feel the need.
Well, okay. So at the end of that night, Buddy Fuller, who was a legend around the area, he had, that family is just legendary in the wrestling industry, said that, hey, we're getting ready to open a wrestling school here around October, November this year. And I think this was about 5 months away. And so he gave me his number, said, if you're interested, give me a call. So, I talked it over with my wife at the time and everything, and agreed to do it. So I quit my retail job. And moved to Bolivar, Tennessee, which is south of Jackson. In Bolivar, Tennessee, Buddy Fuller had a farm, and I don't know how many acres he had, but there was an airstrip there, the whole 9 yards. It was a big plot of ground. And in downtown in Bolivar, there was a little arena that they had a ring sitting on the floor and had a little gymnasium out behind it. So anyway, that's 14, where the like. Yeah, that's where I I'm not going to say I learned pro wrestling, but that's where I learned to shoot. Because Terry Sawyer and like I said, the Olympic wrestler, and Buddy Fuller were both, back in those days, it was a tough gig. Yeah. 14 guys started this thing, and it was come to find out, it was a 3-month program. And basically every morning at 6 o'clock, let me go back. There was a house in the middle of this land that we all stayed in. It was probably one of, if not the very first Tough Enough ever.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That sounds, you mean they housed it and everything, huh?
Yeah, so and it was an old farmhouse. This was dead of winter, and it barely had heat, and we all slept on. 14 of us were in this thing, and one bathroom, and so every morning at 6 o'clock, we got up. There was a cook there that cooked us breakfast, and then at 7 o'clock, a man in a pickup truck would come pick us up, and come to find out, we were doing farm work in the middle of freaking winter.
Oh man!
And what that meant was, digging post holes, and putting up fencing for the livestock and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so we did that, and at 11:45, we jumped in the truck, drove back into Bolivar. We went to a restaurant, and Buddy fed us. Said, anything you want, steaks, whatever you want, it's yours. We never had to pay for anything. So we ate. After we ate, we jumped back in the truck. We go back out to the farm, finish our farm work, come in at 5 o'clock, grab our gear, whatever that may be, a pair of tennis shoes, shorts, whatever, and go to the gym. And at 6 o'clock, that's when the fun started. And basically, they would run us ragged, and Terry Sawyer would wrestle us, stretch us, do everything he could, to basically find out what we were made of.
Yeah.
So we would do calisthenics all around the little gymnasium out back. We did wheelbarrows, we did duck walks and whatever. And true story. While we were doing duck walks, one session, 2 guys duck walked out the side door and never came back.
Hey, so I got to ask you this. So you're basically working every day like a job. You're farm hands, basically. So is that kind of the way you paid the tuition for the school, or did you have to pay tuition and then work for him also?
I did not have to pay tuition. I guess that was a trade-off.
Right. That's kind of,
That was a trade-off. And but it was real funny. But, after the 2 guys duck walked and left away, and every day the training, increased. We never learned anything about pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. And one day, and you, Kelly, you probably know that I got a temper.
A little bit.
And so one day we were doing things in there, and it wasn't anything like I saw on TV or anything, right?
Yeah.
So I said, this is bullshit. I said, I want to learn that shit they do on TV. I don't want to learn this. Well, they grabbed me, snatched me up, Buddy and Terry, and took me outside and said, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. You'll get to that. You'll get to that. Anyhow, that went on, and then it dwindled down to about 8 guys. And at the, in January, I want to say January of 77, he come in one day and said, okay, hey, you graduated. I looked at him like, graduate? What the hell did I graduate? I mean, all I know how to do is hook somebody and pull an eye out. I don't, what. And so there were 5 of us that finished, okay?
Yeah.
And out of that 5, there was only one that survived and made it, the smallest guy there.
Wow.
And that was me. So basically that's, kind of in a nutshell, that's the story. My mother was the one who encouraged me to do it. And so I'm not blaming her by no means, but, I did have 3 ex-wives, and so it's, again, thank you, Mom. I'm not blaming you, but hey, it was an interesting life, to say the least.
It makes a lot of sense though, from you going through that to then you developing OVW and eventually, to what it is and was and all that.
I think you're right. I think you're right, because even when before I ever got into the business, like in the retail industry. I was management material, I guess. I don't have any education. I graduated high school at 17 and never went to college or anything because, number one, I couldn't afford it. And, and I hated school. But I had a knack or a gift, I guess you would say, of kind of helping others in the same field. And so I think that's why really one of the reasons that's not the reason, but I can tell you why I ended up opening the school, if you want to know that story.
Sure.
Okay, this won't be as long, but
fine.
Do you remember when Dynamite Kid retired from wrestling in Japan?
Yes, I do.
Okay, yeah.
I got the call to be Johnny Smith's partner.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And my buddy Doug Furness, a young man that I trained in the business, and
I didn't know you trained Doug. I'd met Doug a few.
Yeah, Doug was a heck of a guy. He lived with me and my my third wife. I'm sorry, my second wife, and in Birmingham, we had my wife and I there had an apartment. Anyway, so Doug lived with us, and he taught me the art of weightlifting. How to do it and whatnot. And so I taught him wrestling. So during that time, I was working in Memphis, but I was also going to Mexico, and I'd already been to Japan. So, and I was working for Smoky Mountain. So, I was moving around a lot. So I gave my notice to Mexico. I gave my notice to Jimmy, in Smoky Mountain, and I gave my notice to Memphis and everything. Well, shit, a week before I was supposed to go to Japan, they canceled me out. And I'm like, what? They said, you've already been to Japan for another company, and we don't do that. I'm like, did you not know that before? We did this deal? Yeah, okay. Anyhow, so I forget what year that was. Might have been 92. I don't remember, but I just remember that I was very depressed at the time, and I couldn't get booked because I'd canceled all my everything. So I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, okay. At the time, I lived in Jeffersonville, Indiana, which is right outside of Louisville, and so I said, well, you know what? I'm just going to look for a building and see if I can start training some guys. And I had about 10 guys that, in the area that wanted to be a part of it. And that's how it started. And so
that would have probably been 94, 95, because in 92, I hadn't even started in USWA until February 93. So you had to go through working with me for a while there, and Jamie. And then probably 94 is when I don't even think I knew then why you weren't there no more, but that would have made sense as well.
Well, no, see, I actually started training in March of 93. I opened my wrestling school in March of 93. So see, it was then. But so that's, in a nutshell, because things got canceled, and I had, you don't work, you don't get paid. And so I opted to do that, and that's what I put my energy in, and it grew from just a little local thing to obviously, for 10 years I trained all of Vince's guys pretty much, and so anyway, that's that. So and here I am sitting in Florida, not doing anything.
Living a good life. I was going to say, and that sounds, again, the dots all connect, though, because I remember when I first learned about the company, and you had asked me if I wanted to come up and work for you, whatever, when you started running the little shows. And this is, at the very beginning, man, when it was in that little, the first place, I forget whatever the name of that was, but, and you had Frank Trailer Park living upstairs in that little loft or whatever. And then I don't know if they were paying for it or you was helping them, then Dinsmore and I don't know, a couple other guys had a little apartment there in Jeffersonville, I guess. I can't remember exactly. But I do remember going out with Trailer Park one night. You probably remember it. Me and him had a long night. We'll just call it that. And I actually slept in the middle of your ring.
Yep.
It was
you did.
I don't know what time of morning it was, but it wasn't time for me to wake up. And you flipped the ring light on above and was like, get up or something. I don't know what you said, but I was like, son of a bitch.
I guess apparently you wasn't so hungover that you didn't forget that. So that was pretty awesome. Yep.
Yeah, man. Now, that was back in my younger days when I could handle it. I'll tell you, here's something else I was wanting to ask you about. So, Jamie, this was early on when we first started down there in Memphis, and he was telling me about this trip that he made with you. Now, you used to drive, I think, a Camaro, like an IROC or something. Is that right?
Yeah, I had a blue IROC that I
that's what I thought, blue. And so you drove him from Louisville to Memphis, and I remember when he got there, he was like, man, it was so damn awesome, Wolfie. Danny's got this system in his car. It sounds so good. Man, he did 100 miles an hour the whole way from Louisville to Memphis, blah, 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 blah. He said, and he put this tape in, and we listened to the movie Top Gun the whole way.
That's it.
That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. When I think of it now, I got two questions. Part one of this question is the speed factor. Now, what was that? Because you wanted to limit the amount of time you had to be in the car with Jamie? Or what? And then the second part of the question is the loud, obviously, what, a 2-hour movie or something like that. The loud movies, was that a way to get him to focus on something else besides talking to you, and you wouldn't have to listen to it the whole way?
Hey, in a nutshell, the answer is yes to both of your questions. No, it was. Well, honestly, Jamie wasn't that bad back then. Not that he's bad now. I'm not going to say that because, hey, I love the kid. I love the kid, and just like I love you. And so but those are very good questions. I've never been asked that, but no, I used to have a system back, an old antiquated system, but I could record movie soundtracks and put them on a cassette tape. And that's what I used to play in the car, because, back in the day, from Louisville to Memphis is what, 5.5, 6 hours. And unless you're going 100 miles an hour, then it's
exactly. I was going to say not enough.
And back in the day, I did drive pretty fast, never reckless, but pretty fast. And, but it was just something that I enjoyed, and passengers who were with me, they enjoyed it too because they've never experienced anything like that. So, So, anywho, but that's a good question about, limited time in the car with Jamie and loud enough to where it would drown him out. That's really good. I like that.
I always have to give Jamie a little bit of shit.
Of course. Well, hey, when you get a layup, you got to do it.
Right. Yeah. Slam dunk.
The other thing, and I think I shared this with you at Jerry Jarrett's funeral when we saw each other. There was, me and you worked together like all the day, almost every night, it seemed like, for the first little bit of my Memphis time. And I know how appreciative I was of it then, even more so now when I go back and really think about it. But there was a night where, in Louisville, you had your own dressing room and called me in there. And I guess you knew you were getting ready to, quit Memphis or something, I guess, and go on and do OVW for the rest of it, or however that went down. But you called me in there, man, and you told me how thankful you were that I listened, and hey, kid, I really enjoyed working with you. You gave me a hug and everything, and literally I was fighting back tears, man, because it just it meant so much to me, man. And it even kind of gets me a little choked up when I think about it now. But at any rate, my question is, I know what you thought about me, then, and I know what you think about me now. But here's the fun one. When we first showed up in Memphis, before you ever worked with us, or maybe even the first times or whatever, what was your first impressions? You knew Jamie way before you knew me, but what was your first impressions of me as a talent and as a gimmick or whatever? Don't sugarcoat it.
No, I won't. I saw a kid who didn't appear to me have a gym body, a slender guy, which is nothing wrong with that. But you know, at the time, I think I wouldn't say heavy in the gym, but most of the guys that you know were, and so I didn't see main event material at that time. You know, but see, you were just cutting your teeth. I mean, you know, so, but I did not see an arrogant kid. I did not see, you know, nothing offended me about you or anything like that. I think, you know, the gimmick at the beginning, because that was kind of, you know, the gimmick kind of changed. It was like wrestling went from one thing to another thing. And I think that was one of the contributing factors, you know, in the area. And I had never seen that. And I was never one who liked, you know, hip hop or anything like that, you know, but that's just me. And, but I never, you know, had any derogatory, you know, thoughts or anything like that about it. Not at all. And, I really didn't know you, or I guess really take notice of you until we got in the ring. Now that, you know, that was different. Then I realized that you were willing to listen to an old guy and, you know, and want to learn. So I liked that very much about you. And so that's the answer to your question.
All right. I appreciate that answer.
Let's take a quick time out and get a word from one of my dope-ass sponsors, and we'll be right back with more Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
Support for Live and in Color with Wolfie D is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped recently launched the Ultimate Men's Hygiene Bundle, the Performance Package. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code WOLFIE at manscaped.com. If my math's correct, that's about 8 million balls.
And I am going to, because I feel like Jimmy's going to sleep or bored or something. I know he's not bored. Like that. But I'm going to do a rolling hot tag and let Jimmy come in and ask a few questions.
Okay, hot tag now. Okay, all right.
Does anybody know what a hot tag is in today's world?
No. I don't know.
No, they don't.
I don't think so.
Or they think they do.
I don't even know if they tag anymore. It's almost just like, oh, is it my time to come in and do a spot? Okay. So, so speaking of men who knew how to tag, see, Wolfie does the personal stuff. He has all these awesome stories about. I go to the nerd stuff. Okay. So the nerd stuff that I want to hear about, obviously, is working rock and roll in '84. You know, especially when that blow off to the no DQ Masks versus Loser Leaves Town match. I would love to hear about that feud.
Wow. Now, did they drop the belts to us on Memphis TV?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
I can't remember. I mean, geez, we're talking 40 years ago, so I don't know. It might be longer. I don't know. Working with Robert and Ricky was obviously an awesome experience, and it wasn't our first time in the ring with them, because back in the Galaxian days, we worked with Robert and Ricky a lot. But was it Kenny and I as the Nightmares? Is that what it was?
Yes.
This one? Okay.
Yes.
Honestly, I can't. I hate to say this, but nothing about that match stands out to me. Nothing about that. You know what I mean? Because it was just kind of I don't want to say a normal thing, something we'd done hundreds of times, I guess.
Right.
But in different. Like in different costumes or whatnot, but Ricky, nobody could sell like Ricky.
Right.
Hell, he was awesome. And what we would do is Kenny and I, as heels, we never really had to call a lot of things, simply because we read each other's body language, and we knew what to do. But when we were getting heat on the babyface, we made them fight for their corner, because back in the day, getting to the hot tag, that was one of the big things of the match. You wanted to get to that crescendo, and so finally, when the babyface, which Ricky was good at, would fight and finally make that tag, the roof would come off of the arena, and so Robert would come in and do his comeback, and we would fly, like ping pong balls, and then that's just what you do. That's it. Working with those guys was like I said, it was a night off. Yeah. Punches off, kicks off,
Yeah.
And that's a joke. But anyhow, I probably working with those guys was like working with the Riches in Southeastern down in Continental too.
Oh yeah.
It was absolutely just wonderful. We had a good run everywhere we went. We were blessed and had a good run for small guys. But I really don't know anything other to say about that, because it's somewhere in my mind, but it seems to be compartmentalized, and the key has not been found.
well, I'll tell you a little bit of the history. So basically, you guys are working back and forth, and then it was the blow-off match where you guys keep your masks and they leave town, and they go to Mid-South and for Watts, and then you guys stick around, and you go into a program with Dutch and Tommy at that point. And the cool thing is it's actually for Pro Wrestling USA. You work them one more time, it looks like, before they in September. So anyway, it's like you didn't work them in Memphis, but it was in Memphis for Pro Wrestling USA. Anyway, I don't know how all that works, but they're, I just love my favorite, and it works so perfectly that Wolfie and I are together on this, because I'm the biggest fan of tag team wrestling in the world. I promise you, I can even think of ways that a show could do a whole, tag team federation. You know what I mean?
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
But the beauty of it is just like you said with the Riches, the dastardly evil heels and the white meat baby faces. It's like peanut butter and jelly, right?
Yes. And it's really not hard if all four individuals, and the referee, because the heels have to know when to distract the referee and how much time to hold him, because back in the day, and of course in today's world they don't care, but back in the day, none of the heels wanted the heat to go on a referee,
right?
Because what's the point? You're not coming back in an angle with a referee.
Right.
I mean, maybe, there were angles like that, but a lot of guys sadly just didn't understand, tag team wrestling. And that's, I love tag team wrestling. I love that the best, I mean, I had a good singles career, but I preferred tag team wrestling, and especially with Kenny, because like I said, we knew each other. I mean, we didn't have to say a lot. We knew each other, and we knew what we were doing. And so that was one of the reasons that I think we were successful as a tag team. We didn't get a lot of notoriety and whatnot around the world, but that's okay. I was very happy with what we did. I remember, the late Jerry Jarrett, who said, Danny, if you guys were 6 inches taller, you'd be champions of the world. You'd be millionaires, and then it never, I don't know. It's just something that I always thought that smaller heels cheating, and just cheating to win, getting their butts kicked everywhere in the ring, but cheating to win always had the most heat. And they did. I remember, Wolfie, do you remember Thomas Marlin, Eddie Marlin's brother?
I can't remember if I've met him, but I know who you're talking about.
He was a great referee. He was a referee that would come in ever so often, and he would dress like he was a top shelf referee. Anyway, he used to tell us that you guys are like little banty roosters, and he said, "Man, that's good," and it just made us feel good. Anyhow, the tag team wrestling was,
and that's exactly what you taught me and Jamie, and I think
that's what helped us be successful, was the fact that we understood we were smaller. And so, I used to think, and I know this is off from what other people think now, as opposed to like, I'd be like, okay, what can I do to make them look really good tonight, or make him look really good tonight, as opposed to what can I do to get my shit in, get this move in? I wanted to think of cool stuff for me, or for you to do to me, and even when we went to like Mexico, or even WWF, when we went up there, we did that little cat and mouse spot where they chase us around the ring. The other one would go beat him up, and that shit got over there. It's like, what you're saying is true. The formula is there. The formula is there. If the talent would just do it, it would still work today. You know what I mean? It would still work today, even though the world knows everything. It could still work today. Yeah, absolutely, man. The formula has not changed. Go ahead, Jimmy.
That is true.
Get you another one, Jimmy.
Yeah. So, I got another one. Of course, I got another one here. So.
Come on, throw it at me.
So. All right, so this is an interesting one. Now, we got a friend of the show, Quentin Charisma, and he actually bought a mask from your mom, and I think he bought it out of a magazine. How long did your mom make gear, and did she make all of your gear, and how long did that?
Yes, my mom was an excellent seamstress. That was one of the. She used to do that when I was growing up. She would make my clothes and whatnot, certain things. But when I got in the wrestling business, my mom got in the wrestling business too, because I set her up, making gear for a lot of the talent. And matter of fact, one of her biggest customers back in the day was Jerry Lawler.
Oh.
Yeah, because one time I think he ordered like 100 masks or something, and he paid her a lot of money, and she was like, wow, But my mom made a lot of stuff for Brian Christopher, and just and just pretty much everyone, and she was she did real well with it, She was happy.
So, okay, who would surprise you that we would know? Because I think of Brian Christopher and Jerry Lawler. They always had impeccable gear. You know what I mean? Like the top of the shelf stuff, man.
Well, Lawler only ordered masks from her. She didn't make any of his tights or his, the strap he would always pull down to make his comeback.
Sure.
I not that I know of. Now, I don't, not that I know. I just know about the mask orders he used to make with her. But it's very possible that she done some other stuff, because she, like Eddie Gilbert. I think Doug Gilbert. I mean, a lot of people ordered, a lot of stuff from her. So
that's cool. That's very cool.
Hey, I want to go back to one thing real quick. We were talking about referees, and you didn't want to put the heat on the referee, and Frank Morrell refereed a lot of the matches back then that like we had. Yep. And so I want to see if you remember, there was me and you had been working together for a bit, and so you it was kind of one of those things where I knew you very well in the ring, was getting to that point, blah blah blah, and so. It was a 6-man though, and it was you and Jeff Jarrett, and I can't remember who the other person was. And then Frank was refereeing, and it was me, probably Jamie, and probably like Brian or something like that. But the point is getting heat on Frank was hard to do. And I've told people this, man, sometimes it was a damn shoot trying to get him to, come to you when you needed him to come to you, because he didn't want no heat on him at all. None especially whatsoever. Back then, eventually me and him became really good friends and rode together all the time and yada, yada. But at the beginning, he didn't like me much. I don't know, he had history with Jamie, but he didn't like me. And so I was trying to get him in the ring and distract him, or get him to, come over to the apron there. And he wouldn't come there. And I just kind of reached my hand out and put it on his shoulder like, Frank, that motherfucker, I don't know if you remember, that motherfucker hauled off and slapped the piss out of me.
Yeah. And he pointed that finger at you, don't you put your hands on me.
He slapped me silly. And man, it shocked me. And my first thing, I just looked over at you like, what the fuck? And you looked at me and just shook your head like, man,
I don't know.
just take it, man. Just take it. And, that's all I could do, man. 19 years old, and my referee's smacking the shit out of me on the damn apron.
Yeah. Well, I think in his mind, he was putting you in your place, I guess, or who knows? Maybe he did.
Swear to God, I poked him in the eye, which wasn't true.
Which you did not. No, you did not. Now, Frank, if you're listening to this, he didn't poke you in the eye.
I thought Frank's another one that got away, and I thought I had a beat on him a few months back. I talked to one of his grandkids, but evidently Frank's not doing too well, and all that.
Oh yeah.
I was trying to get him to not come on here, but I just wanted to talk to him, and
of course,
do that so far. But anyway, yeah, man, we ended up being great friends, great traveling mates, and all that. But yeah, him and some of our matches, and he even helped us out. You remember the time we got in the shoot in Blytheville when Jamie? It was me and you in a single. There was no security, there was no police, nothing at the Armory, and Jamie said something to some guy on the front row about, if that was my ugly old lady, I wouldn't have brought her out in public. And here comes brother. And then Jamie jumps in the ring, getting away from him, and then I hit him. And then a couple other people jumped in, and fucking Frank grabs one. I think you got one. And then the other, But we finished the match after that.
Yeah. That's happened. That's happened to a few times in matches that I've been involved in. Like back when I was managing Wayne Ferris and Larry Latham, I had the steel helmet. Yeah. We had a ton of heat. Oh my Lord, did we ever? But one night in Louisville, Kentucky, I used the helmet. I think on I want to say Jackie Fargo. And boy, about that time, somebody hit the ring. There's two guys hit the ring. One of them I just took out with the helmet. And so the other one, I think he slid in, and I'm not sure, but I think Wayne and Larry, got him out. But it was like really crazy, But this day and age, you don't really have to worry about that. But it happened to us a few times when we were down in Southeastern before, Continental. But anyhow, the good old days, days, as we can say.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff ain't gonna happen no more. But it's like because it happened after that, not with you, but with other times, and it's scary at the same time. It's a rush because you don't know who's gonna stab you or whatnot. But then it's like an adrenaline rush, man. As well,
one time, and I forget. I think we're in Louisiana doing something for somebody. Yeah, we doing something for Watts or something, and Bob Roop, who I always liked, he was on the show, and it was early in my career, and I come back from the ring, and I was arguing with some fans, and Roop, when I come through, he says, "Come here, kid, let me tell you something." He says, They're doing that to you because you're doing a good job at what you're doing. If you get in an argument with them, it diminishes, how they feel about you. And it clicked. I was like, you know what? I didn't know that. And see that going back to my training days from the Bolivar, Tennessee camp. See, I never learned anything about pro wrestling. I had to learn that when I was allowed to work. Right. And I didn't get to work for a long time. I'll tell you what, the first year I was in the business, I made $2,000. And you got a wife and 3 kids, that's kind of tough.
Yeah.
And so because I couldn't get work because, Lawler and them, they didn't trust me because the only thing I knew was, how to hook somebody and hurt somebody. and so I sit, I came to as many shows as I could. I just sit, I kept my mouth shut, and I watched, and I slowly got to work, and whatnot. And I learned on the job training, which really did not exist back in the day.
Yeah.
And Rip Rogers, he was the same way. He learned on the job training back in the day. Yeah. So anyhow, don't bore you with all that, but no, it's crazy to see how the business, was when we were in it, and then to see how it is now. It's you know, I'm happy for the boys from the standpoint of their financial situation, but there's so much that they aren't getting, you know, that they could.
Yeah. Yes. And yes, it's the nail on the head. I mean, there's so much more that could be done if you just, and I think, I talked to somebody about this on here, I think last week but anyway, like, don't get rabbit ears. Another thing you taught me, don't get rabbit ears and slow down and all that kind of stuff is just, it's out the window. But WWE, in my opinion, like, I'll watch pay-per-views. Okay. And it seems that in the past year or so, they have really kind of taken it back quite a bit as far as like old school. They're not, it's not a spot fest. They're telling in-ring stories. They're not leaving it all for the vignettes and stuff. They're telling good stories in the ring. And good psychology, man. Very good psychology. So that is good to me for the business. Now, the other guys over there, I can't really watch that, man. It's not what I signed up for. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah, I understand. But you know, I have nothing negative to say about the industry because you know it provided me with a unique lifestyle that didn't know that I would ever have, but it you know, there's always troubles, but you know, the thing is, if there's troubles there, more than likely, you know, the one complaining is the reason the troubles are there, you know, and I had my troubles just like everybody does, you know, and I have no regrets. It is what it is. And the 42 years that I was in it, young men like you know, that actually listened, and you know, it was a pleasure to mentor. You know, like I had the pleasure of mentoring Steve Austin. You know, I was the guy that I was the first guy that ever let him call a match. You know, and he said we were taping the ESPN tapings. I think at the time at Dallas. And he come in and said, "Hey, man, what are we going to do?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. You're calling it." He looked at me and said, "Man, I can't do that." I said, "Yeah, well, you're going to." He said, "Well, what if I screw up?" I said, "Well, I'll fix it." You know. So Steve has always had good things to say about me, and I appreciate that for someone of his caliber. But at the same time, John Cena has always spoke well of me. Brock Lesnar's always spoke well of me. You know, and I think most everyone who came through OVW during the WWE days, you know, has, and so that, that's I think a pretty good track record for I guess kind of would end my career, so to speak. You know, how do you top that? You know, think about it. You know, how do you top that? You can't. You know, I don't think so.
And so, but you know, Cornette, you know, Rip. I mean, just so many, you know, my nephew by marriage, Doug Basham, you know, I think he's one of the trainers in the current OVW right now. And, which is good because Doug was, you know, hand trained by me as well. So,
still looks like $1 million too. You know, he's always kept himself in shape.
Man. Yeah. Jimmy, you got lost in there. I was waiting for some more tagging questions.
I'm just giggling. Okay. Here's one I got, and this just kind of came to me. So, you know, a lot of people will ask you probably, was there one guy you expected to make it that didn't, and you were just, was there? I want to ask it in the opposite direction here. Was there one guy that you saw and you were like, yeah, that's something, I can make that happen, and then he went on and did exactly what you expected? Is there anybody
I have a handful of that, but the very first one was while I was still wrestling. One night in Memphis, Tennessee, Stone Cold, with Steve Austin at the time, he came to me in my dressing room and says, "Man," he says, you know, because he was a heel, and heels did not make a lot of money, and I was a face, and he says, "Man, I'm thinking about, you know, giving this up and going back to Texas, you know." And I said, and I told him, "Look," I said, "I don't know what it is, Steve." I says, "But you have the it factor. You don't understand it yet because, you know, you hadn't been in the business long enough." I said, but you have the it factor. You're going to do something. I said, I can't put my finger on it. I don't know what you're going to do. I said, but you're going to be a success in this business. And a few years later, it happened.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, and then 5 minutes after I met John Cena, I knew right then he was going on to great things. Because one of the reasons is because I didn't have to babysit him. A lot of the guys that came through OVW had to be babysitted, but Cena did not have to be babysitted.
Which means a lot, because when you don't have to babysit somebody, that shows a true level of leadership right there, because you don't have to, if they're not in your line of sight and you don't have to babysit them, that's a leader right there,
Bingo. Because I said, hey, I got a line on an apartment. He said, no. He said, I've already got me. He said, I came in a few days ago. I'm already set up. So it's like, okay, I knew this guy was on the ball, and I knew he was going to do great things. And Brock Lesnar, for instance. Come on. You look at that monster, and how could he not? Right. He's a shooter. He is a badass. And bottom line is, he's the kind of guy that when he wakes up in the morning, he looks in the mirror, and he has to accomplish something every day. And that's the way he is. Yeah. And how you see him in the ring is pretty much how he is in real life. There's no dissimilar. He's pretty much it, And I'm blessed to still stay in contact with these guys and whatnot. They reach out from time to time, and I turned 70 a couple of years ago, and Nick Dinsmore, he got this done, I think. But a lot of the old guys, sent me in and videotaped happy birthday, 70th birthday. So, it made me feel good, that they remember, and that's, those are things that, I'll never be able to duplicate again, and not sure that I want to, because Lord have mercy. And I don't know how much you had to do, Wolfie, when you were, working with WWF at the time, but Lord have mercy. For the 10 years I worked for those guys, I was on 24-hour call. Brother, let me tell you something. My phone was constantly ringing, and it was something. It was something. But hey,
I bet
I wouldn't trade it for the world. It is what it is, and a lot of talent came out of there, and kudos to Rip Rogers, kudos to Jim Cornette, and all the guys, Rob Conway, Trailer Park Trash, Nick Dinsmore. There's a plethora of other guys, just so many talent came from there, and I was just blessed to be a part of it.
Yeah. So I guess in wrapping up here, think about this, the little thing that you started, in 92, started training some guys and whatnot. And take it all the way to something we ain't even mentioned yet, is being a pretty well looked at series on Netflix.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you think? I watched that.
When I owned OVW, there were several times I had a chance to do reality shows, but but this was still when everything was still kayfabe and whatnot, and I wouldn't break that, and I wouldn't do it. But the times have changed, and I think it's a good thing. Vince always said, any publicity is good publicity. Don't know if he'd say that now, but and so I watched the Netflix series, and I don't have anything good or anything negative to say about it. It was what it was, but it got exposure for some talent, look at Cash Flow. I think Cash Flow's in there. Come on, he's working, he's working alongside Stallone. So come on, that's just so, the opportunities for the guys nowadays. I don't begrudge them that, not one bit. And however they get it, hey, it's good for them. That's what I can say. It may not be the best for the industry, but look, I think if the business could have been killed, it would have been killed years ago.
Oh yeah.
From all the things. So and look what it's doing now. It's thriving. So it's going through a cycle, and it's probably going to wind down, and it'll come back. This business is it's here to stay until our demise. I can tell you that.
Until we get replaced by Elon Musk robots wrestling.
Hey, there you go. There you go.
Is wrestling the only thing that can't be automated? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, Danny Davis will have to train them.
Yeah. Well, hey, if the price is right, I'm up for it.
Yeah.
Hey,
Man,
thank you both, Jimmy. Thank you, and Wolfie, Kelly. I don't know how you. If you'd rather me call you Wolfie or whatever.
You call me whatever you want, Danny. I appreciate you so much for coming on here, and I appreciate you so much, even more for just what you did for me as a wrestler and as a middle-aged wrestler, and all the times I've been around you and all that kind of stuff, man. And
I'm happy for you. I'm happy for the fact that you listened, and you advanced yourself in a positive way, and you guys made a name for yourself, and I'm happy for you for that.
Thank you.
I'm proud of the successes you had, and we all have setbacks and whatnot, and the fact that you're still here is a good thing. I appreciate you wanting to speak to me and hear my redneck voice for almost an hour. And Jimmy, it was a pleasure meeting you in Jackson, Tennessee. Sorry I forgot your name, but okay. I am 3 days older than dirt. So
that's okay. And I think we can actually end the podcast now, right, Wolfie? Like we can wrap it up.
I think we can.
We got Danny. This is it.
Thank you. I certainly appreciate it, guys.
Show, folks.
Thank you, sir.
Danny, love you, man.
Hey, I love you guys. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Man, awesome interview. And folks, stick with us. This is going to be a special edition of Ask Wolfie Anything. We've asked some Halloween style questions. You guys have given us some great ideas. So I'm going to answer some questions. And then also Dustin, my friend, gave me a great idea on some of the questions here. But it wasn't a question. It was to make a bracket of like slasher film guys in a wrestling ring and who would win. And so I put a bracket together, and I'll give you my winner at the end. So stay tuned for this. It's going to be pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be right back. And Jimmy, hit the music.
You stole my line. All right, we are back with Ask Wolfie D Anything. And man, oh man, first off, dude, I mean, wow. Danny Davis.
Grail, man. We got the Holy Grail. It's
know.
There. Like, we're joking, y'all. But yeah, we could be done now.
Technically, yeah.
But how awesome. And I swear, man, the one thing that sticks out to me, I mean, aside from just who Danny and what he is and what he means to me, is that his beginnings there, that whole working on the farm thing and living in the house. And yeah, that's pretty cool. And just all he did was work on the farm and learn to shoot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
I mean, it is.
That's old school as it comes. But like I said, during the interview, the dots all connected, man, to why OVW is here now and how it became. It just all connects. It's awesome, man. Great story. Great story.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. I'm just pinching myself. The whole conversation, I'm like, is this really real? Is it? Did we land the unicorn?
He's a great person, man. He just really is.
He just,
I wish I would have been because I joke about being an in-ring, hands-on first student and stuff. I wish I would have that's when I got into wrestling. Had the age thing been different and all that kind of stuff as far as when I got in. But I feel like he would have taught me some things outside of the ring that would have benefited me, But anyway, that's like he said, we all got our shit. So Man, yeah, let's start throwing questions.
All right. Well, yeah, like we said, this is obviously our nightmare episode, our Halloween episode. And so we've got a very special Halloween Ask Wolfie Anything. So obviously we're going to get to that bracket, Dustin. Hang on, man. But the very first one is from longtime listener, awesome question asker, Brad Freeland on Facebook. And he says, Wolfie, have you ever experienced any paranormal activity, or do you believe in ghosts? And then Jimmy, make sure Wolfie lets you get your shit in on this one too. So,
actually, I do, man. Because when I was young, there was a man that was killed in the apartment that was behind us. Like, our dividing walls would have split the apartments or whatnot. Mm-hmm. And he died, and I don't remember the specifics. I was very young, but I know there was some weird shit going on, and here, I'm going to give you my personal experience of why I think the shit's real. One of my best friends growing up, his name was Dave. There was a group of us. It was me, Dave, Stewart, who is at the Hall of Fame. I think you met him. And then another guy named Jeff. But anyway, Dave was like my little brother in a way. He was a few years younger than me, and it's like he looked up to me, and I was just getting in the wrestling business, and I feel bad about this because I feel like I influenced him, but he liked to party, man, and he was fun, and he was just a fun guy. You just had to know, and everybody loved Dave. So anyway, I get a call one night. This was in December. It was either the day after my birthday, and I just got back from Puerto Rico. And Stuart calls me, and he goes, "Hey, man, Dave died." And I'm like, "Dude, what? Do what?" He's like, "Dave died." And I was sitting in my floor watching TV, leaned up against my couch at the apartment I had at the time. And, I mean, I just couldn't believe it. Like I said, he was like my little brother, man. And he had had a car wreck and wrapped his car around a telephone pole. And it was bad, man. But I remember sitting there after we hung up, and like it was devastating, and I fell asleep, and then I had something that was more than a dream, and I 100% believe this. So I go to sleep, and I start hearing somebody knocking at my door, right? Mm. And I get up, but it was hard to get up. It felt like gravity was like sucking me to the floor, and I was trying to get up, and I couldn't. So I think I'm in a dream at this point, right? And I mean, I guess I was. I mean, there's something. So I'm in this dream, and I can't get up. And I hear, "Wolf, Wolf." And he was like one of the first people, man, back in that day to like call me that all the time, like in school and stuff, mm-hmm. Warren or whatever. And so I can't find him. And then I'm hearing this, and I go to answer my door, and there's no one at the door. So I shut the door back. And in my mind, this is all happening, man. This is real, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I keep hearing, "Wolf, Wolf." And I look to the bathroom, and I look into the mirror, but instead of my reflection, it's him. And I swear to God, he just looks at me and he says, "I'm okay, man. I'm okay." Hmm. And all of a sudden I woke up on the floor. Hmm. And you cannot tell me that was not some kind of spiritual shit, that he was coming to me and just letting me know, not to worry. He was all right. He was okay. He was, in heaven or something. I don't know. Just, hey, I'm good, man. It's okay. Don't worry about me. Yeah. And that, I swear to God, true story. And that tripped me out for a long time, man. Cause like not a couple of days before, like I said, I just got back from Puerto Rico, and it's like, I think it was the day after my birthday or 2 days after, but a couple of days before, me and him and Stuart were in my car at that apartment, singing Elvis Presley's Blue Christmas together. Wow. It was powerful, man. I don't know if that was a subconscious thing, but that's a true story, man. And I've never had a dream that felt like that. Like I absolutely felt like before it all started happening, I didn't know that I fell asleep, but the whole like gravity pulling me to the ground and not being able to get up, and then all of a sudden being able to get up and talk to this person was weird. So yeah. And that's my paranormal experience.
Wow, man.
Rest in peace, Dave. Love you, Dave Jackson.
Man, wow, definitely rest in peace, brother. Golly, obviously we heard Gangrel talking about Steve Dahl's house. That great story. I don't have anything like that. I guess maybe the Holy Ghost, maybe, but no. But the one thing that I remember as a kid, I was on my top bunk in my house. I lived in a neighborhood called the Poor Farm. And the reason it was like that is because there used to be a farm there where the transients would come and work and get a meal and that kind of thing. And they turned it into a subdivision, I guess, once the family that owned that farm died. I think that's the story, but it was always kind of funny saying you lived in the Poor Farm, but so we lived there, and then I was on my top bunk doing my homework, and I was probably like 8 or 9. And I had this Incredible Hulk poster. I had a Road Warriors Rock and Roll Express poster, all this stuff. And I was doing my homework, and I felt this like mist of smoke or something come by me. It was like a weird, like mist of smoke. And I saw it, like I remember it, and I saw it, but I didn't feel anything like the cold chills or anything. It didn't like do my homework for me or anything. It was just like something moved past me. And again, I might have imagined it. I was a kid. I had a pretty healthy imagination, but it was something that did that. But other than that, man, no, I mean, there's been things that have scared me, like, the stuff where you're like in high school and you go sit in a graveyard and stuff. But a lot of that is just, in your mind, but nothing like you had, man.
But that was heavy, dude. Seriously. I mean, to this day, it's like, that was something.
Yeah.
If that was not a voice from the grave, I don't know what is. You know what I mean?
No, I think you're onto that, man, for sure. Okay, well, there's a lot of questions as far as like the Lawler monster gimmicks. Like, Jason Fields asks, first question has to be, what are your thoughts of Nightmare Freddy Krueger character in Memphis? Okay. And then Jamie Brumley asks, what monster characters have you wrestled? I'm just going to kind of lump all these together. Okay. And he said, Kevin Ellis says, I remember when I was a kid, Lawler brought out a box and revealed Dr. Frank. He looked scary as crap to a little kid. Who was that? Tommy Gilbert, maybe? And then Michael Poor asks, who was Leatherface in the USWA in the early 90s with Eric Embry and Tom Pritchard? Roger Calvert, my buddy Little Farmer John. Lawler was king of monster gimmicks. Freddy, Jason, Wolfman. I was there one week. He had them all. Anyway, so the classic legendary Memphis monster gimmicks, right? Lawler loved the monsters, as you said. Oh, of course, we can't. I mean,
I know who that one was. But the other ones, honestly, I just know like Tommy was Freddy. I mean, I think there was a few different people that did the other ones, and you know me, man. I mean, not the biggest wrestling historian. I think it was Brian Lee that got set on fire as Leatherface when the apron caught on fire. Not positive about that. I mean, I promise, man, the listeners probably know more about this than I do. I don't know who was who, and some of those. And as far as me wrestling, I saw that one and I really tried to think, man, I'm not positive, other than like people that had like a weird, crazy type gimmick that wasn't an actual copy of the slasher. I don't know that I've wrestled exactly one of those. I don't think I ever wrestled Jason. I don't think I ever wrestled Freddy. I don't think I have. And maybe a listener can tell me different, but, I wrestled some guys that were probably worse, but and worse as far as like, beating you up or something. But anyway, man, I wish I had answers to that, but I don't, man. I don't know who was who. And most of those, like I said, are different people did it at different times. I mean, could you just put the gimmick on and go,
Right, exactly. And I mean, they're classic, legendary monsters. Lawler loved them, and it would have been cool to see you in a match, especially when you had graduated to Slash. That would have been even cooler. Have Slash survive slashers, that kind of stuff. But
as Slash, the biggest monster I ever wrestled was the Big Show.
Yeah, that's a monster.
Yeah, real life.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the answer to that. I mean, we thank you all for those awesome questions, but unfortunately it was kind of a timely thing for Wolfie there. But so this one kind of leads into the bracket that you were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. And so Russell Jordan, the son of Ben Jordan, one of the best people ever and a good friend of both you and I, Russell asks, if Wolfie had to try to survive any slasher villain, who would he choose and why?
Any slasher villain. So let's think here. I wouldn't fuck with Jason.
Yeah. Freddy's going to mess your sleep up.
Like Halloween 2 is one of my favorites. Just that used to spook me, and so did Jason, as a kid. Man. I wouldn't want to fuck with Michael either. No. I mean, he survived gunshots out the window, and then all of a sudden he's just gone. I mean, these guys are like, what could you do to him?
I know.
So, and then there's Freddy. I've survived a bunch of bad dreams.
Daily.
Ghostface, I feel like you don't know who he is or whatever, but I don't feel like, I swear, I mean, it's a cool series, but I don't feel like he's a big threat, really. I don't know, unless he sneaks up, cut your throat or something. But
right. Well, it's like multiple people,
Yeah, he don't have that superhuman quality.
Right.
And now we got, the big thing now is Terrifier, Art the Clown. And man, he's a gruesome killer, but I don't know if, there's that laundry room scene on one of those, because I have not watched all of them. I've watched bits and pieces of some of them, but I don't know. I feel like if I seen some fucking weirdo sitting there, I just, walk out and, I think I could take him as long as it didn't come up on me. Yeah. I would like to be in there with Chucky.
Yeah, Chucky. Exactly.
Yeah, I could take Chucky, man. I could take Chucky. I mean, I know he's a little smart little fucker, and but old people, little kids, and midgets, man, I'll whip shit out of them. Like seriously, man, Chucky, yeah, just dude, you hold them at bay. The old gimmick where you hold their head and they're swinging at you?
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm smart enough to be able to do that and get the knife out of his hand, something. I think I could take Chucky.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was my answer for that one. I'd like to be in that, and I'd survive Chucky.
Yeah, I'm definitely going with that as well. I think you could just kick Chucky a solid ton, and send him 100 yards like a punt for football or something. But I mean, he is a testy little bastard, and he's gonna give you
back, and you'd have to do it again. But it's almost like just like you got a rabbit or a bad dog in the neighborhood or something. Just fuck off, man. Just
annoying little toddler coming at you with a knife.
Toddler, you can't beat some guys up. But
yeah. I think that's it. Chucky's the one, even though, hey, I respect Chucky. I don't want to fight Chucky, but if I've got to, let's fight Chucky, man. I'll be glad to help you with that one, man. So Jason, however, we've lit him on fire, drowned him, burned. I mean, anything you can do to him, shot him, stabbed him.
He's big too.
He's gigantic.
He's the biggest one of these guys.
Yeah. That's why, he's the beast. But anyway, yeah, I just thought that would be a great lead in for Dustin's question. And then Dustin's question, I'm going to lead into what we've talked about here. So Dustin Barnett from Facebook, he wants us to do a fantasy bracket of horror movie killers. So slashers, whatever, Yeah. But anyway, so are you prepared for something like that?
Dude, I told you, man, I said, I really love this question. We could have made an absolute whole episode out of this.
Yeah, maybe we will.
Because this is cool. And so, yes, I have made a bracket of slashers. It's an eight slasher bracket of I think the most popular ones.
Yeah.
And let me go ahead and give it to you. So,
okay,
round one, is going to be Jason versus Michael Myers.
Wow.
The next match is going to be Freddy versus Ghostface.
Wow.
Okay, all right. Then the next match is going to be Art the Clown versus Leatherface from Texas Massacre.
Okay.
And the final match in the first round is going to be Chucky. It's going to be a midgets match.
Yeah, feature.
Versus the Leprechaun.
I love it. That's great, man.
Hey,
I love that.
Tell you something, man. Somebody needs to book this, man.
Yeah.
Seriously, you could put people in these outfits on a Halloween show, and I guarantee it would draw.
Oh,
And if anybody steals this from me, you better fucking pay me a little bit.
right.
Even
Probably.
if I'm not, I'll be the ring announcer for this.
Yeah,
Anybody-
yeah.
maybe next
Yeah.
year. But all right.
Yeah.
So in the first match, Jason versus Michael Myers, two of my favorites, man. This is a tough. I think it'd be a hard fought battle.
Yeah.
God, I mean, they both are kind of superhuman. Like we said, Michael has survived so much. So is Jason, man. But just pure power and everything. I think Jason comes out on top of this. Probably with a machete and chopping Jason's head off, man. Or excuse me, Michael's head off.
Yeah. And
so I'm putting Jason goes over there.
Jason's going to have a lot of holes in him too,
Yeah.
But,
Oh yeah. I mean, they're both strong and somewhat superhuman, but man, can you imagine what that would look like? Like, honestly, especially if Hollywood did it,
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's like Andre and Hogan, or it's like the Road Warriors versus the Powers of Pain or something, like these are two big, mean bastards fighting each other. So, yeah, I think you're right, though. Jason comes out in that one. I totally agree.
All right. So next match, Freddy versus Ghostface. Never been like the Scream movies are good. It's kind of like the whodunit type deal, and that's what I get.
Yeah.
But Freddy, man, we've seen some of the remakes and all that kind of stuff. I just feel like Freddy, it would almost be no match really, because Freddy would fuck with his head, and I don't know. I don't know if Ghostface sleeps, but if he does, he's screwed. But even I think Freddy comes out on top. Claw, he puts the literal actual iron claw into his head and squeezes, and those sharp nails squeeze Ghostface's head till it's nothing. That's my favorite there. Yeah.
Freddy's been my favorite always. That's my favorite all the time slasher. And it sucks that he's like a pedophile, like that was his original character, like before he turned into Freddy Krueger the monster. But whatever, he's still the villain. And I think pedophiles are horribly scary, although I would like to punch one in the face. Yeah. But when it comes down to it, Freddy, to me, he's my favorite of all time, even though I love Jason too. Michael Myers is awesome too, but man, Freddy's the favorite for me. I even dressed up as him one year for Halloween at school, and I was like in like 6th grade or something, It was like way too early to be knowing about Freddy, but still,
they should have changed it. I mean, with the pedophile deal, it should be like 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you.
Yeah.
Freddy's gonna touch your poo. No, I don't know. Maybe so. I don't know.
Maybe.
All right. So next match is Art the Clown versus Leatherface.
Wow.
What's your take on this one?
Man, it's a new school versus old school, man. And a lot of people are going to really, go in on Leatherface because he's such a classic character, man. But to me, I almost feel like, it's like when you see like somebody classic wrestle somebody brand new, it's like I'm trying to think like Ricky Morton versus Kerry Morton or something. You know what I'm saying? Like something totally different, like Danhausen versus, Sting or something. I don't know. But what I mean by that is it's Art the Terrifier. I feel like Art almost would go over because, I don't know, the new guy, maybe
he's getting a little.
Right, because what was Leatherface? Like a cannibal. We know that.
Yeah, and he was also like really dumb, and that was my thing, man. I think Art would outsmart. That's what I think would probably happen. I think it would be kind of one of those deals. Art's in the corner. Here comes, he's got his chainsaw, and everybody thinks here's the finish. He misses in the corner, just buzzes the fucking top rope off, but some kind of Art's out of the way. God, I keep rhyming. Art's out of the way and gets the chainsaw, maybe kick to the gut, something. And then, because his kills are pretty violent,
Oh, yeah.
So I think Art takes the chainsaw and actually sticks it up Leatherface's ass and, reams his ass and his inside the chainsaw. And that's the end of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's over.
Yeah.
I can go with that.
I'm a pretty good booker. But, all right. So the next match, is Chucky versus the Leprechaun. What do you think here?
Man, again, Leprechaun's got that supernatural magic quality, but dude, Chucky has just got that tenacity, and he's always going to be on you. And that's a tough one. I love it's the midget feature, of the show, but I'm going with Chucky on this one. I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. The Leprechaun looks scary and everything, and Chucky looks all innocent until you piss him off, man. And he's like you said, he's relentless, and I just think Chucky gets him, man, because of the relentlessness. Yeah. You could try to fuck with Chucky, but he's coming back at you, Leprechaun. So I think Chucky goes over in that one.
Yeah, I like it. I think you're right. That's a good one.
So, ding, ding, ding. We are on to round 2. And guess what we got coming up next?
Man, I can't wait.
Freddy versus Jason.
Man, Freddy versus Jason.
We've seen the movie.
Yep.
And so I really don't even have to call this one. We know how that one goes. We've seen the movie. Jason wins, man. What else can I say? Jason wins.
Right. I mean, it was a questionable ending. Did Jason also die? We don't know, but I definitely think Jason lives through it and Jason wins. I think so. He's just a brute force, man.
I'm sorry. Even if Jason did die, he's coming back, man.
Right. Exactly.
He comes back.
Yeah. I mean, I love Freddy, bro. I love Freddy, but Jason, to me, I mean, think about it, he's like the immovable object and the unstoppable force, together.
And noting it to like real professional wrestling, that's humongous.
Yeah, it is.
Even though that's kind of a Mad Max character, he's still kind of got a Jason quality to him,
Totally.
Don't fucking sell it, all that kind of stuff. So Jason, yeah. He beats Freddy. We know this from the movie. And yeah, like you said, there's some question, did he die also? But he always comes back. He's died 1 million times. He's been set on fire, shot, stabbed, hung,
drowned.
Drowned, everything.
Yeah.
All right. So the second match in the semifinals is Art the Clown versus Chucky.
Wow.
That'd be a fucking funny show right there.
Yeah, dude.
You got a clown versus a little doll that comes to life, a little mime, a mute clown who really, I mean, he can do some shitty stuff to you, man, really shitty stuff. And then you got the Chucky, the little midget that can, I don't guess he's a midget. I should quit saying that. He's a doll,
Right.
That comes a possessed doll. But in this one, I think it's again that put the hand on the top of the head and he just can't get to you.
Right.
I think Art dissects the clown, or excuse me, Art dissects the little buddy there.
Yeah.
My buddy, remember him?
Yes,
that's
my buddy.
Chucky was based off of.
Yeah.
So Art the Clown dissects my buddy.
Yeah, he's dead. Sorry, buddy. And we're giving it to the new guy here. This is like watching current wrestling.
He's getting pushed, and I think somewhere in that finish involves the bride of Chucky. She might jump up on the apron for a distraction,
right?
Over and like plants a knife in the top of her skull or something. I don't know.
Yeah, as he kisses her or something. Creepy.
Oh yeah, he kisses her. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. All right, so here we are, the finals of the Slasher tournament. Jason versus Art the Clown, the old school fucking heel. I mean, superhuman heel versus the new guy.
Yeah, the white face, baby face.
The big, 2024 baby face that everybody loves, sets box office records, man. What do you think first?
Man, I'm just... I think it would be a good match early on. You know what I'm saying? I think Art would pull some stuff out of his butt, but I'll say this.
Out of his black bag.
Out of his black bag. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
bag trick.
But the brute overall force of Jason, I don't think Art can handle that. And yeah, anything Art can do, Jason would do better. You know what I mean?
And I think this should be, I'm changing this. This should be a Hell in a Cell match.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that Jason ends up, I mean, it's always the machete with Jason, he decapitates him because they're on top of the cage, Undertaker Mick Foley style, on top of the cage, he's going to choke slam him off of the cage, but then he decapitates him. So I don't know really what he could grab right there, right? The head's gone.
Yeah.
So picks him up without a head over his head. Jason has Art over his head with no head and just chunks him onto the announcer's table, which has like a something on it that has like spikes sticking out of it or something like that, and just pierces the whole body, and just there he is. He's on the announce table, broken, stabbed, and dead. That'd be crazy.
And the crypt keeper is the announcer.
Has I don't know where he got it from, just all of a sudden, but a torch, right? And from the top of the cage, he's got a torch in his hand. And for some reason, down there on the announce table, Art has, some flammable substance on him, and Jason throws the torch from the top of the cage down to the table that's broken with his pierced body, sets him on fire, and Jason wins this whole tournament.
Yeah. And again, Crypt Keeper is calling the match. And
that'd be great.
For some reason, Dave Brown is also there too. It's like Crypt Keeper and Dave Brown.
What are you saying about Dave Brown?
I'm just saying I don't know what I'm saying. I just think it would be funny, honestly. Love you, Dave, but that would be funny, man.
That is funny, man.
Or Corey Macklin. Can you imagine Corey sitting there? Can you imitate that?
Have to be, God rest him. Love you, Corey.
Oh,
but
of course. Yeah.
Bringing him back from the afterworld. So, but that would be appropriate for this tournament.
That's a good call, actually. Can you imitate Corey for us real quick, calling that match?
Jason coming in here with those hockey masks on his face. He picks him up and throws him down off the top of the cage, Dave.
Is he on fire?
Is he on fire or what, Dave? Up, over, and down on him.
Oh,
Dave,
man.
it's starting to smell really bad in here. The smell of burning flesh, Dave.
Yeah. The clown flesh. Yeah, man.
Clown flesh.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was freaking cool, man. Thank you, Dustin, for giving me that idea, and I ran with it. So
yeah,
I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed Danny Davis.
Oh my God,
man, that was awesome to me. And Jimmy, you got anything to finish?
Man, I'll just say this. Thank you for being so persistent to making that Danny Davis interview happen. I owe it all to you on this one because you were persistent. We wanted him from the start. We had him on the list. Yeah. Then you saw him at Jarrett's funeral. You did bring it up, not in a way that would be disrespectful to Mr. Jarrett or anything like that, but it was talked about. And then the immediate time that you see him at the Hall of Fame, you walk up to him, you're like, "Hey, Denny," and he says, "Hey, Wolfie, I'll do your podcast."
Yeah.
After that, I didn't care.
Yeah, I wasn't going to ask him. I really wasn't. I mean, I might like thrown a seed out there, you know what I mean? But I wouldn't have asked him because in my mind it wasn't the it was a wrestling event, but I just I knew if he didn't want to do it, he wasn't going to do it, and and for him to just come to me, it's kind of like the story that I told of he called me in his room and almost made me cry because he told me he loved working with me. So, yeah, I appreciate Danny so much, man, and that meant a lot to me. This interview meant a lot to me, and I hope this has been a fun episode. I know I had fun with this bracket here at the end.
Oh, man.
The interview was awesome, man. And, again, we thank Danny so much for coming on here.
All right. Man, that's all I got, brother. I love it.
That's all I got. Freaking Jason.
Yeah. I love it.
I'd love to hear what the listeners have to say about that. If y'all want to fix my bracket and you can put it on my page or whatever, that'd be fun, man. It's not Halloween yet. We got a few more days.
Yep. Trick or treat time is here with us. I hope y'all have a safe and happy Halloween. And we will see you on the next episode, which who do we have, Wolfie? I think we've got somebody, right?
Todd Morton is coming on next week. And he's got some crazy stories. I already know. He's got some crazy stuff. He's got some Midget D stories that are out of this world. So, yeah, I already know.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be a fun one, man. But anyway, thank y'all. Happy Halloween. Thank you, Wolfie.
Yeah. Thank you, Jimmy. This is awesome. Love you, man. Thank you, listeners. And thank you, Jimmy. Love you guys.
And now a word from our sponsor.
and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Chic, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews, sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com, and to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to USWApodcast.com.
Hi, this is Mike Needham, host of the Reckless Abandon Podcast with Mike Needham. We invite you to jump on your favorite podcast platform and search for the Reckless Abandon Podcast and give us a listen. I'm sometimes joined by a part-time podcaster, part-time co-host, and full-time wife, Tiffany Nicole. We talk wrestling, we talk pop culture, we talk local events, local happenings in West Tennessee, and a ton of other stuff. But be sure to check out the Reckless Abandon Podcast. Find us on Facebook. Also, look up the Microgroup Podcasting family on Facebook and see some of our other podcasts we have out there. Until next time, make good choices, and always remember, no dollar, no dice.
That's right, it's the talk of Middle Tennessee, the channel you love to hate and the channel you hate to love. It's Brian Turner from Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. And if you're looking for matches from Wolfie D to Jerry Lawler to Dusty Rhodes and the team that put a pimp before your eyes and a goatee between your thighs, Booty Call and Athena, go to lostwrestling.com. See, I made it easy for you. Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. Booyah!
So that was another great episode. Hey, Wolfie, tell them where they can find you on social media.
Jimmy, they can find me in the club, bottle full of bub. I'm just kidding. They can find me on Facebook. My personal page is Warren Wolf, WOLFE. I'm on Instagram at Warren Wolf 13.
You can always find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Live Wolfie D. Here's the thing. Wolfie always has offers for his autographed photos. He has a selection of some awesome photos from throughout his career that he will autograph and personalize any way that you want him to. Just contact him either directly at his personal Facebook page or through any one of our other pages, and we'll make sure you get in contact directly with Wolfie. Get those photos, right, Wolfie?
Yeah, I've got some good stuff on there, to help with the podcast.
Folks, if you can't get out to a show to meet Wolfie D, there's nothing like that, especially for the fans of PG-13 and Wolfie D. And before we go, you can always find me, your host, Jimmy Street, at James Rock Street on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
And hey, Jimmy, before we go real quick, I just want to add in there, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate, first of all, the work you've done for this podcast. You have worked your butt off. Secondly, the people that are liking the page. Beyond that, even more, is the people that are listening, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, and remember, guys, the podcast drops a new episode every Monday at noon, and our past episodes are streaming now on demand on all major podcast formats. Thanks again.
I got a cap for you, don't. He got a cap for you, don't. I got a cap for you, don't. He got a cap for you, don't. He got a cap for you, don't. And here we go. The original white boy that came out sagging, not bragging, don't be hating, cause I'm spitting the truth. Still livin' in color, bum rush your mother, utilize a hubcap, unlike any other. Back in the day, I was N-O-D, and I was P to the G, plus the 1 and the 3. In case you forgot, they call me Wolfie D. Been cloned and copied so many times, tired of suckers taking credit for what is mine. You know who you are, without me name dropping. Wrestling's first white boy coming out hip-hopping. Been doing it like this since 92. Laid low for a while and you thought I was through. Listen real close to these rhymes that I've injected. This shit's so sick, it makes your ears get infected. Mad skills, no faking, there is no one great. Cause I'm bringing more folks than Obi-Wan or Vader. Not here to play games, so you better beware. You don't like me, so what? I really don't care. Like time I keep ticking and I can't be stopped. You sucker step to the side unless you wanna get dropped. With my finish, I'll straight knock you out. Please allow me to tell you what it's all about. I'm gonna wind it up, then I'm driving it home. It's Wolfie D, baby. I got a cap for your dome. I got a cap for your dome. We got a cap for your dome. We got a cap for your dome.
This has been a James Rock Street production.